each of the great teachers out there that I've ever talked to, each of the professionals, they all have that coach that did that for them. Whether it be somebody like a Benny Tormeyer or Bill and Bobby Irvine, it doesn't matter. But those people challenged us to be able to think and not just regurgitate. I started teaching when I was 13, as I said earlier, and from that point, I got a lot of backlash. How could you teach us, right? And actually, the college kids were much more receptive to a 13-year-old teaching them than the adults that were in that class. The adults were very stuck in their ways, and how could this 13-year-old be teaching me? Until I got in and was entertaining and kept them going and could teach them the same stuff, and all of a sudden I earned my way in. And I think because of those early experiences and being younger all the way through, the first portion of my career, it was always that I was younger than everybody else. I was always, trying to be something more and prove that I could do it. So because of that, I oftentimes dug into the skill a little bit, and I felt like I had to know all the whys. I had to know why, whether I got it or not, because I was fairly naturally talented. So I could imitate, I could see it, I could do it, and I could get what they wanted me to do really fast. But because I was teaching at such a young age, I was trying to get the inside, the internal. When I finally met up with, and I had some really great coaches that started me on this path. Ron Montez, Buddy Schwimmer, they are why coaches to the nth degree. So you look at Buddy Schwimmer, and you might not have ever taken a lesson with him, but the guy knows his dancing. He knows his stuff. And most people think of him as just the swing guy, but he understands dance. And so because of that, he would challenge me to ask why. But when I got to Fran Rogers, she really changed the game for me. And anybody that was privileged enough to work with her before she passed away knows that she understood why we did things and the resulting factor of what would happen if we did things. So as we were going to be inspired to create new methodology or technique and principles, it was important to her that we did that, first of all. And second of all, that when we did do that, that it was based on sound principles, and we didn't just say, this is how it is. We actually did it. We tested it. We checked it out. We saw the results of what would happen. And then we made a decision as to whether that was going to be the thing that we taught all the time. And so what I would say to the students is, if you're hearing that lesson over and over and over again, there's two sides of the coin. One, that coach may not have any other lesson besides that. So that's definitely a possibility, and that is our responsibility as Americans. Okay, now let's pretend we're international. That is our responsibility as humans. Yep. To challenge our leaders. That is our responsibility. It is not anything less than that. We are here, and we should appreciate our freedoms, but our freedoms require us to challenge our leaders, not to not follow them, but to challenge them, because they're doing the best they can in most instances. But it is important to challenge them. And what I learned through working with people like Fran is that she expected me to walk in her smoke-filled office without a mask, I might add, and challenge her on the technique book, on the little gray Bible. Mm-hmm. And I'd walk in and I'd go, it said we were supposed to go side and slightly forward on this step, but she's supposed to go side. That doesn't make any sense to me. And so then we would go rounds about why that was the case. And we'd have these long, drawn out 2-hour arguments about why one way or the other. And then the argument would be done. And sometimes there would be a solution and sometimes there wouldn't. And she'd expect me to go figure it out. And this is one of the things that I miss from Fran. And I know each of the great teachers out there that I've ever talked to, each of the professionals, they all have that coach that did that for them. Whether it be somebody like a Benny Tormeyer or Bill and Bobby Irvine, it doesn't matter. But those people challenged us to be able to think and not just regurgitate. So If you have a coach that you're suspecting is the case, become curious. Ask why. Don't ask why as a little brat, because I know what that's like. I was that too, right? But don't be a brat about it. Just get curious. And if you're curious, they will feed off of your curiosity, and they will find out why, because they have the passion and love somewhere in there, whether they're teaching the same dang lesson over and over again. They might still have it in them, but you might have to actually dig it out of them if you care to do that. If you don't care to do that and you don't resonate with them, move on, get a new coach. It's okay.
Yes.
Everybody might have their feelings hurt a little bit. We might cry a little bit because, oh, so-and-so left me. But you know what? Move on. It's okay. It's all right. And you got to find somebody you resonate with. And when you do, for goodness sakes, if I could say one last thing to this next generation, find some loyalty, people. Find some loyalty. You know what? We're not in the world of loyalty right now. Let me tell you, there is a whole lack of loyalty. But you know what? It will take you so far. If you have a coach that you resonate with and you work with well, and you know that you can learn from them and they get you, show some loyalty. Show some loyalty. Give them that loyalty, and they will give it right back to you, and they will feed you like none other. And that seems to be missing a lot these days because of YouTube and all of the information online. Everybody's bouncing around. I can get this free lesson here, and I can get this free lesson here. Oh my goodness, what a mess. Yeah. And so now the loyalty is gone. But you know what? These coaches, they just show them some loyalty, and it's just human nature. It's not even a dance thing. It's just human nature. If you show somebody loyalty, they will show you that loyalty back. And that doesn't mean you can't take lessons with 100 coaches, but show some loyalty. And so this is important, right? We have syllabus as a structure and a framework to establish credibility for us as professionals. So we need them. Now, as far as which syllabus is the best, we could debate about that all day long. And every one of the owners of every one of those syllabus would say their syllabus is the best. And what I can tell you about all of their syllabus, if you are a student of dance, there is something wrong in all of them. Because they're not perfect. Nobody's expecting them to be perfect. So leave them alone. Like, let them do their job. They're going to try to get better. Each one of them is trying to do the best they can to create some sort of stable structure for all of us professionals in the industry. And that helps us all get more credibility. But you have to go use it. And I think that's where the young professionals go wrong. And that all happened when there was the whole deregulation of who could teach, which was a mess. Like, that hurt all professionals in the industry. That hurt our industry massively, and we are suffering the consequences from it now. But the syllabus is massively important, and whether it's accurate or whether it's got flaws or not is irrelevant, because everything that's written down has flaws. And if you've tried to write a book, I've written 3 or 4 now, 3, 4, 3. You know that it is impossible to get a book down perfectly. There's always going to be a flaw. There's always going to be something wrong. So we need to give the syllabus people a break. We need to understand what it's there for. We need to utilize it, and then we need to support them in the best way we can, and help them when we find flaws, and support the different industries. Everybody's got their syllabus. Do we wish that everybody could agree? Yeah. Don't we wish the whole world could get along and there could be world peace? Yeah, we do. But can all the syllabus get along together? It ain't happening anytime soon. It's not happening.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a good, again, mindset. I think the theme for today is going to be, what is your mindset going into these topics? Right. Because that's going to make or break it. I think it's a good mindset to have, that the syllabi is a structure. It is, you can think of it like a governing body. You can think of it as a regulatory agency. You can think of it as an outline to focus and create some structure in which to work around. But as we know, especially in ballroom dance, it is equal parts sport and art form. So if you've ever watched Strictly Ballroom, you know that our industry only grows and adapts as folks are willing to take chance and say, okay, this is this is what we've been doing for the last 10 years. Where can I put my individual stamp on it? Or how can I play and make creative choices and split test it and say, okay, if I teach, this group of students the old way and I make a slight tweak, is it more efficient? Does it look more interesting? Is it more eye-catching? Does it work better biomechanically? Because of course, now that, at least for me, working with older dancers, working with more that retirement age, biomechanics are a huge thing that I need to work around and take a critical look at to fit the age and the experience level of my students. I cannot teach them an international rumba hip action where you're putting all of your weight on your big toe and your second toe, and you're doing a rib isolation over the foot as you're still suspending your hip back. Like, that doesn't work on an 80-year-old body. So even though the syllabi might have, technique or step patterns, you have to take creative liberties and make creative choices that best fit the dancer that you're putting the patterns to.
It's so true. And I think that, there's balance, of course, right? There's always a yin and a yang.